Okay, so I'm seeing a lot of videos on YouTube of people talking about the 20th anniversary of the Sega Dreamcast. And while it's not the 20th anniversary here in Australia yet, we didn't get the Dreamcast until about November, but I thought I would talk about my memories of the Dreamcast and what it meant to me to own one. Where shall I begin? This is a bit of a crazy history with Sega and Sega Aussie here in Australia, who were the distributors for Sega of Japan. Now, the whole Saturn era was a mess here in Australia with releases. The advertising wasn't really there. The system itself wasn't that good, but I was really hyped for the Dreamcast because I think it was based on the Naomi arcade boards that Sega was using inside the arcades. So that gave me real hope that we're going to get something like that, like the Naomi boards that can play all of these arcade perfect games. So I was really hyped for this thing. And I remember going into Electronic Boutique back then, pre-ordering the Dreamcast. Didn't know what games was going to be released with it, but I did pre-order the Dreamcast, and as we got closer to the release date, I think in America was the 9th of the 9th, 99, and I think we were supposed to get it maybe 2 weeks after that release. Well, 9/9/99 comes. It's massive release in America, huge success, and I learned probably the next day that Sega Aussie has put the date back till I think it was the end of October, and that was it for me. I was so fed up with Aussie. I thought, right, that's it. Went home, I went on the internet, and I ordered the Dreamcast from Amazon America. I ordered it with Sonic Adventures and Soul Calibur, which were both released titles. 2 weeks later, it arrives in the mail, but in the meantime, I heard stories of Sonic Adventure. There was a batch of bad discs, wouldn't play. I'm thinking, oh my god, I've ordered this game, it's on its way. What happens if that game is one of them? So what I did, I ordered another copy of Sonic Adventure. I knew that I could always send back the one I was going to get with the Dreamcast if it was faulty. So I get the Dreamcast, I put in Sonic Adventure, and wouldn't you know it, it was faulty. So I was lucky because I think 2 or 3 days later, another copy of Sonic Adventures arrived from Amazon, and that played perfectly. So I was able to send that original copy back. You know, being able to play Sonic Adventures and Soul Calibur, which was, it must be one of my top 10 arcade games. It was a perfect beat 'em up game. It was just amazing. Sonic Adventures was okay, but I couldn't put down Soul Calibur. So for me, from that day on, because I had American Dreamcast, I had to import everything from America, which I didn't mind. That's something, you know, I wanted. I was so fed up with Sega Aussie here. There was a lot of things that went wrong with the release. It was okay, so it's put back till I think November. Then it was put back again till December. I remember going into the independent game stores just to check up, see how things are going, and I was told by one of the owners, oh, the Dreamcast has arrived in Australia, but it's stuck in customs. I don't know what happened with that, but it was stuck in customs for like 2 weeks, I think. When it was released here in Australia, no first party titles. There was no Soul Calibur, there's no Sonic Adventure. Can you believe that? To get a release and not have your first party titles, that's like Nintendo releasing a new Nintendo system. There's no Zelda or no Mario. It's instant death. It really is. It was just a complete mess up. I just have to look at this. Also, there was no VM units released at as well, and so you can see a lot of things was going against it. It is an underrated system. It is probably one of my favorite system of all time. Third-party support was lacking. We only got Soul Calibur from Namco. They didn't do any other games for it, but we saw Capcom do some games. Resident Evil Code Veronica was a great game. You had Jet Set Radio, which is Jet Set Jet Grind Radio in America, Sonic Adventures, Shimu, Crazy Taxi 1 and 2, Skies of Arcadia, which is an amazing game. What else is there? Power Stone, another great Capcom port. Fantasy Star Online, I wasn't really into. Space Channel 5, House of the Dead, of course, that was one of my favorite games on the Dreamcast. Samba del Amigo is a great game. Rez, groundbreaking game, unbelievable game, along with Headhunter. What else was there? Grandia 2, so many great RPGs on that system. Like I said, Skies of Arcadia, Silver, which is a hidden gem, that was a port of a PC game. Evolution 1 and 2 was another great game. And one of my favorite games, Legacy of Khan, Soul Reaver. That was on the original PlayStation, but on the Dreamcast looked even better. Tomb Raider: Last Revelation, one of my favorite Tomb Raider games of all time. Dynamite Cops was another game that's I haven't thought of for many years. Blue Stingers wasn't too good, but Ready to Rumble was great. Like I said, Crazy Taxi, all that sort of stuff was really cool. So yeah, it was like a crazy time for Sega. They really were behind it by that stage. Nintendo was still popular, but PlayStation had really taken off. And I was looking at the console wars used to be between Nintendo and Sega, and here we have Sony in there. And also Microsoft was getting ready to pounce into the market as well. And I'm thinking to myself, there's going to be 4 consoles in this market. That's insane. Something had to give. Sega hardware sales were declining massively, so they decided to pull the pin on being a console developer altogether and just make software for their competitors, which to me was like, I couldn't get over that they were abandoning their own brand to work for the enemy. That's the way I saw it back then, and that's the way it was. But that was the reality of it. I can look back now and understand that. Back then, I was not happy with that decision. I remember, I think it was in 2002 when I heard the news that that's it, the Dreamcast is over. Sega is no longer making consoles. I was devastated. I honestly was. I was upset, angry, so mad at Sony. I put a lot of the blame on Sony. I'm thinking if Sony didn't get into this market, it'd be just still Sega and Nintendo. And I was angry at Microsoft for coming into the market as well. So I did blame Sony and Microsoft for all of that, when it should have been Sega and their inability to market what was a very underrated system. It was it was ahead of its time. It honestly was. And consequently, because of all of that, I lost faith in Sega altogether, because they were going to work for the enemy. I sold off all my Sega collections. I had the American Dreamcast. I had probably about 27, 28 games, all imported. I took photos, I put it on eBay and sold it for like $500. Yeah, that's something I can look back on now, and honestly I do regret doing that. I remember packing it all up and shipping it off, but it was really bizarre. 2 weeks later the package came back. Now I think the person that bought it from eBay, he was overseas and wasn't home to receive it, so Australia Post sent it back to me. And for that brief moment I was thinking, okay, maybe I just refund the guys the money and I keep this. But I sent it back off to him and he got it. Incredible collection he picked up at a bargain price, and it's something I do really regret. Honestly, after all these years, it's something that's kind of been eating away at me. It was an amazing collection I had. So, I've decided that maybe in 2020 I'm going to rebuild my Dreamcast collection. It has been eating away at me. I want to rebuild this collection. I've already started with Jet Set Radio. This is still new and sealed. I couldn't believe I found that. Got this from a friend years ago on Instagram, Skies of Arcadia. Can't wait to get back into these. And of course, one of the this would be the only, I don't know, it would have been the first game I got when I started recollecting. Would have been Tomb Raider: The Last Revelation. Great game, entirely based in Egypt, which I love. So that's where I'm at with this. It was just, you know, out of anger of Sega that I would sell all of my Sega stuff off, which is absolutely crazy. And you know, the Dreamcast one really does still eat away at me, because you know, I think, oh my god, why did I sell that thing off? It was a phenomenal system, seriously lacking third-party support. It did have some great games, and Sega would go on to develop for Microsoft Xbox. A lot of us considered the Xbox the Dreamcast too. I still got some. I don't have the Xbox anymore, but I still have some of the Sega games like Jet Set Radio Future, which was even better than the Jet Set Radio on the Dreamcast. A phenomenal game. Toe Jam and Earl, Mission to Earth. That was a cool game, and there's other games I need to get back in the collection for the Xbox that Sega done, like the Shenmue 1 and 2. But yeah, it was a crazy time for me when Sega pulled the pin. I sold things off, and you can see in my latest videos I'm trying to rebuild my Master System collection. I was lucky I did keep a lot of my Japanese Mega Drive games, but yeah, it's kind of been lingering in the back of my brain for the last couple of years, that story of how I sold it, everything. And yeah, thinking I even think sometimes I go on eBay looking for, you know, that particular model, that same Dreamcast with all those games. Maybe the guy that bought it may one day put it on here. You know, it's just wishful thinking, but I want to rebuild my collection because it was a great machine. If we see a mini, then I don't need to do that, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, that's just my memories of the Dreamcast. A very underrated system, and a system that I really regret selling selling everything, the games, the peripherals, everything. Was like, why did I do that? And I still ask myself that question now. Why do I do that? Why? Hey guys, thanks for listening to this, and I'll see you next time, guys. Bye.